So, Miracle Monday. Welcome to the Miracle Monday. Thank you so much for joining in this mind training moment. It's all M's, mind training moment on Miracle Monday. And so using very specific lessons today to open our eyes and to start seeing, not with your eyes, but to get a new insight, a new way of seeing. So all this is helping, in fact, and all this is part of the training, and we cannot skip a step. So that's why we do it thoroughly and stand still whenever is necessary. So there's lesson 18, I think it is, that I'm going to use. And there's a part in chapter 24 of A Course in Miracles that I use, and that is also very specific. The inner shift, it is called. And it's great how this supplements one another and supports you in your awakening, that's pretty wild. It is kind of helpful to start with reading some of the review lessons, just to come into the habit of letting go, letting go, letting go. Say setting your mind in the mode of letting go and not doing anything else with it, so that you're going to be open to receive what is being shared. And it takes you out of your conceptual poop of yourself. So it's a real cleanup today. Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Because it's with our thoughts that we have to work. That's obvious. And like, it's not that we have to do something with the thoughts. Like the ego would love that. Like your human desire craves for that. But we're not doing that. So we work with your thoughts, but to get them out of the way. So, and say offer a possibility for the light to come in instead. So that is the inner shift, going from the conceptual, like I said, throwing that out or letting that go and allowing space to occur for your consciousness to rise, in which miracles are natural, and it's not going to be a struggle then. So anyway, so that's the plan. As far as I can tell, and the words that are coming to me, I did not make them up. So it's like, it's unbelievable what comes out of my mouth. So yeah, I'm completely trusting that. So I'm going to read a couple of review lessons just to do some mind gymnastics and yeah, some sanity training, so to speak. Because this is a day-by-day activity, like this is continuously going on. It's a day-by-day that you do this. Every day there's more, there's always something that clutters your mind, so to speak, and it asks for undoing. If you're on this transformational path and you want to get rid of it. If you want to wake up out of this dream, this is the way to do it. Like this is the fast lane to me. My experience is that this is the fast lane to get to that. Speaking deeply from my own experience, I've been doing this for some time and discovered that this could help me, like within 24 hours, to have a clear mind just in the moment that I needed it so badly. And from that day on, I started using this on a daily basis. And yeah, so that's great. That's already 22 years ago. I can't believe it. So anyway, yeah, I end up with the last lesson. My thoughts. Oh, I see no neutral thoughts. That's the last one we're going to read today. And I continue with that lesson. So I start here. My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts, yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts? I just call them a little different, but it's like pitiful, meaningless private thoughts. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I'm aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking. And chaos has no laws. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real, and that I need not see it at all unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. A meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no grounds for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear because I am acknowledging that it does not exist. God did not create a meaningless world. How can a meaningless world exist if God did not create it? He is the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home? Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I'm seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts, and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast a beneficent light on what I see. Yet God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world rise before my eyes, as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false. They must be one or the other. So, and this is our lesson for today, then I see no neutral things. What I see witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist, because life is thought. Let me look on the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change, and so I also know the world I see can change as well. So this is the review from this little booklet, like the I'm Sustained by the Love of God, the review of the first 50 lessons. It's available in PDF form. But I told you that already. So this is the lesson. I see no neutral things. So we read the review of that. So, and before we go any further in that lesson, I will use a bit of this of chapter 21. I said chapter 24, but it's chapter 21. So, chapter 21, the title of chapter 21 is The Inner Picture. So everything is happening in you. So there's a lot in chapter 21. Let me see. It's a great chapter, like the inner picture, chapter 21. It has what is it? Oh yeah, the Forgotten Song. That is the title, the Forgotten Song. So I forgot about it too. It's like the Forgotten Song. That's one of the parts in chapter 21. And the responsibility for sight. So it's also to do with vision. So chapter 21 is great to use for waking up. It's like everything is in there. That's really lovely. But we use the last part of it. And it's called the inner shift. It's on page 210 of the Urtext manuscripts. So the inner shift, I'm using the first paragraph for now. Are thoughts then dangerous? Are thoughts then dangerous? To bodies, yes. The thoughts that seem to kill are those which teach the thinker that he can be killed. And so he dies because of that what he learned. He goes from life to death, the final proof he valued the inconstant more than the constancy. Surely he thought he wanted happiness, yet he did not desire it because it was the truth and therefore must be constant. The constancy of joy is a condition quite alien to your understanding. Yet, if you could even imagine what it must be, you would desire it, although you do not understand it. So that is crypto language. If you read it just as the words, like you have no idea what that is about, right? So why am I reading this to you? So it's like the fundamental part in this is then, like, you don't know joy. As long as you believe that you live in a temporal state of life, so to speak, based on death, that you are here, you were born here, you stay here for a while, and then you pass on, you die. Like you die, you stop existing as this identity. So this is all, let's say, it's a fundamental misconception. So today I was reading in the manual for teachers, and one of the questions in the manual for teachers too is like, what is death? And you see that whole idea spread out and say made clear to you what it actually entails. So it's like you cannot believe in it a little bit. If you believe in it a little bit, that obscures your mind to receive and to be in an experience of the love of God, of life. So the smallest validation of death is already demonstrating that to you. It is impossible, when you believe that, it is impossible for you to experience the love of God or come into communication with God. So this needs to be very well understood, as you can imagine. So there's no halfway. There's no something like a little bit. Like, well, sometimes, or this or that. Like you make a little agreement with yourself in what you believe. And that can waver. We all know this. It's like you believe in some kind of gray area in which you're going to discover, sometimes it's this and sometimes it's that. It's like there's a polarity going on. No, that is not it. Like in that state of mind, you're not able to receive to receive the grace of God. You're just, in fact, closed in an idea that you are a separated unity based on this physical thing, that you identify with, and that obscures to you, in fact, that idea, that belief system obscures for you the possibility of the light and love of God. So even the slightest, somewhere in the course it says, like, even the slightest frown, if you have like, well, I'm not sure, is already like an validation of the existence of death, because you're questioning something. You're questioning something that is separating you from your brother, that you doubt about it, that you're not sure about it. So you miss, in fact, the fact that he's one with you. So that goes so incredibly far. So all this is going to be undone. So luckily there's one who does that for you. If you had to like analyze that and correct it yourself, well, you tried and it didn't work. So you don't have to do it any longer. So that's why it also says in the course, like, give all, like, resign as your own teacher. Give everything to the real teacher with a capital T, who can actually tell you what truth is and show you what, and allow, does the undoing for you. The only willingness that you need to come up with then is to allow that change to occur inside yourself. And only the willingness to do that. So it doesn't need your correction. Like all these things that we think that we have to do in order to become sane, is insane. It's not sanity. So that, because you cannot help yourself in that sense. You're so caught up in your own thought system and your own belief system that you cannot help yourself. The only thing that you do is confirming and validating what is occurring in your dream as your real life. That's what you do with your mind constantly. So there's an undoing process taking place, and that's happening to you. And by you being willing to allow that to change, to allow this shift to occur in you, and being willing to let that happen, not leaving things outside of it. Like you see, like if you want to keep something for yourself just in case, or thinking like, well, that's probably not part of it, well, then you're holding back on it. So you're already limiting it. That means that you're not completely willing to give that away too. And that has an immediate effect, because truth is total, it's whole and perfect. In that you can experience it. If you keep something apart, you decide that you don't want to experience peace. You know, in that moment, whether you're aware of that or not. So that's that's why the dream appears to be so sticky, and to get out of it seems to be like a long process in which you don't know how that's going to work. Like, you don't know how far you are in all of this, and you cannot evaluate that for yourself either. But there's one thing is this. So there's an idea of a timeline. There's an idea of a longevity. As long as you place your ideas about progress and about where are you in your process, as long as you say place that in a timeline, you're mistaken. Like you're missing it. So all this does, it reverts back to the present moment. So in that, you can finally leave the past be. And see, this is the whole healing process that is taking place every time that we meet, in fact. You're going to be brought back to this present moment, leaving the past for what it is, leaving past experience for what it is, and seeing that that is of no value for this moment, because this moment is complete and whole in itself. And it doesn't need a past to exist. It's more the other way around. It absolutely does not need that, because the past is over. See, and that is the training. So we practice that by reading this little book and say training our mind in a systematic way to allow this undoing to take place, to become open, and to in fact not know. And seeing in that lies all knowledge. By you not knowing, if you have an idea about how you can solve it, it's too late. You're caught in it. You're caught in your own web, and you will start over again. Okay, so let's take a look at the first paragraph one more time. Are thoughts then dangerous? Well, in that sense, yeah, to bodies, yes. The thoughts that seem to kill are those which teach the thinker that he can be killed. And so he dies because of what he learned. He goes from life to death, the final proof he valued the inconstant more than constancy. Surely he thought he wanted happiness, yet he did not desire it because it was the truth, and therefore must be constant. Truth is constant. The constancy of joy is a condition quite alien to your understanding. Yet if you could even imagine what it must be, you would desire it, although you understand it not. Well, this is funny because it's like your first, at least I'm speaking from my own mind. I know that I thought like this, that like there's an old thought pattern that I recognize when I read this. One of the things that you could think about truth and being still and actually communicating with God is that it's boring. It's not going to do anything for you. You can think that, it's like, well, there are other things to do too, right? And this is a very ancient idea in my mind, but it's fun to take a look at it, because you don't, in a certain sense, you don't like constancy. So you do everything to turn your life over, like from this way to that way, and try something else, take a detour, make it exciting. So you do all kinds of things with it. At least you have done, and maybe now you start to do it less, but it's like this is a normal thing for a human being. You want to be distracted. That's why all this distraction is popping up in your mind. So that can be the first resistance to truth. That's just one of them. And there are many of them. So it's like, it seems like if you give away your will in what you want, that you're going to miss out on something. We said that the other day. It's like talking about sacrifice. Thinking that leaving your nets is a sacrifice. Or thinking that, say, giving yourself completely to God would be a sacrifice. You think you're going to miss out on something. This idea. So I covered that. So in the second paragraph, the constancy of happiness has no exceptions, no change of any kind. It is unshakable as is the love of God for his creation. Sure in its vision, as its creator is, what he knows, it looks on everything and sees it is the same. It sees not the ephemeral, for it desires that everything be like itself, and sees it so. The constancy of happiness has no exceptions. Now, if you take a look at that, like the constancy of happiness does not have an exception. So if you see what your mind does, your thinking does, go walk in the street and walk, or turn on your television and stay in this idea that the constancy of happiness has no exceptions. It is always with you. It is communicating with every cell of your body. It is completely here with you. And now you see that what your mind does with that, when you are, say, distracted by some kind of outside event, you see that you dodge that, so to speak, you drop it really pretty quickly. This is just a tendency of the human mind to give that up, to give up hope immediately, or to give up happiness immediately, because you're actually looking for the opposite. Your mind cannot do anything but looking for contrast, for conflict, in fact. That's what it does, until it is changed. So, and this is where it's helping you too to recognize. It's like amazing. There's no exception to the happiness that is in you. There's no exception to it. And look with how many exceptions you can come up with during one day. You should write them down. It's amazing, like hundreds of them. All opportunities to ignore that happiness is a constant part of you. And they're really thinking that the distraction or the conflict is a real thing that's going on. So in awakening, in seeing this for what it is, you come to the place where you actually start to wait and be patient. Waiting to see this in a different light. Staying with that happiness and joy, like staying in your center, not letting yourself be distracted by anything. And seeing, literally seeing that it actually works. Like, oh my God, the last thing you would expect is that it works. And this is so interesting in that sense. It is so interesting. So the human mind is really made to distract you from that. And it looks for things, it does whatever it does. So here we recognize letting this constancy speak instead of valuing your ideas about the opposite, about discussing it, about exceptions, all this that you value. Seeing that your thoughts are not neutral at all, like they literally close down your option of experiencing peace and happiness. It is like whoosh, like a handful of sand right on top of a little candle. The light is gone. Like it appears that the light is gone. It is dark. It's just no way that can come through. So when this happens to you on a daily basis, whether you do these exercises or not, like you have to return back to, oh, wait a minute, yes, I can start my day again. Oh my God, there is no exception to the happiness and love of God. There's no exception. I found already another 50. Like, no, I don't have to do that any longer. So I can return back to this point where I start to recognize, oh, the constancy of God is with me. The peace of God is shining in me now. It's like that is happening now. I was distracted. I forgot about it. And this is okay to forget about it. It's not bad or anything. It's more like the opportunity to remember again. That is the greatest gift during the day. It's like, oh my God, I forgot. Here it is. Oof. Oh, I'm saved again. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is really interesting. So we can continue here another time. The inner picture from chapter 21, the great chapter of 17. What was it? 17. I see no neutral things. Though this is specifically to things. So we're going to do this lesson. I'm reading it right now. So this idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates. So lesson 17, I see no neutral things. This idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates. You see no neutral things because you have no neutral thoughts. It is always the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe that it really is the other way around. No, the thought is first. This is not the way the world thinks, but you must learn that this is the way you think. First there's the thought, then the effect of the thought. If it were not so, perception would have no cause, and would itself be the cause of reality. In view of its highly variable nature, this is hardly likely. So here it says then, perception, the things that you perceive, you think that they are first before you think about it. But no, you had already a thought, that's why you see it. And this is tricky to figure out by yourself. Like, you're going to do some experiments with it and miss it. Because you're so, say, that is such an automatic thing for you that you place things outside yourself and saying like, oh my God, I don't like what I see there. I don't really like that. While you put it there yourself. Like, I don't want to see this person. Well, you put him down there yourself. I don't want to see that news bulletin. Well, you put it out there. What it's on it, it's literally what you were thinking, what you are thinking. See, this seems to be such a impossible thing to think about, but it is good to realize, like, no, I'm actually the cause of this. This is what you see in chapter 21 too, the responsibility for sight. It's like, I'm responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience. I decide upon the goals that I would achieve, and everything that happens to me, I ask for and I receive as I have asked. Like, it will come to me. It is what is given me because I wanted it. So, and this is really great because you can say broaden this out to everything that is occurring. So there's no limitation to that either. Like, whatever you desire with your heart, you see reflected, you see literally happening. It's like, why is this happening to me? Is the thought. Well, this is happening to you because you asked for it. And that's why it's presenting itself exactly the way you asked for it. Like, the universe is not withholding you anything. It is just you that you don't know what you're asking for deep in your heart. But then again, you're not alone in that. You see this too, like in what I read today in the teacher's manual, that comes back too. Like, you're not alone in this. You have your help. So now don't try to figure this all out by yourself, but use the teacher that stands right next to you. That is actually your help along the way, continuously. I don't know how to respond to this, show me. I don't know what to think about this, show me. What am I supposed to do? Show me. How can I change my mind? Show me. You know, it's like, give Spirit the opportunity to do this for you. See, and then all this falls into place and becomes easier for you. And you discover that it actually works. So I can't stop you bringing that in from the manual for teachers, because it literally says what to do then. It's like, it's not that you have to walk around the whole day and ask for help. It's like, that's not necessary either. So an important thing then is to start your day right, so that you have a moment in which you already become quiet, that you say like, okay, not my will, but yours. I'm giving this day to you because I want to have a happy day. I don't want to be concerned with it, about the right thing or the right choice or the this or the that. So you make the choices for me. Then that can be your heart's desire, like in the morning. You give that, you pray that, in fact, or declare that to yourself. Then you start your day, you do whatever needs to be done, or wherever you are led to. And when something is occurring, you can ask for help and say like, okay, however you do that. Some say God or Jesus or Spirit, or it does not matter. So it's like you're referring back to remembrance of this moment that you started your day. Oh yeah, I don't want to make decisions for myself. No, I want to experience the peace of God. That's my goal. And I don't know how to achieve that, so I need help. So that is really how you start your day. And also that you don't become totally preoccupied with all the occurrences during the day, because you can't, like I said, you can't help yourself. So if your tendency is to think about things a lot and try to figure out what the next step is and all this, you will do so in this exercise too, that you start to say engage that. If you don't keep yourself to the instruction that's given you, like, no, you don't have to figure this out. When you experience yourself as figuring something out or trying to analyze what's going on, you ask for help and step back so that it can be given you. Like I said in the beginning, it's like this is about the idea of to admit that you don't know is your entrance to knowledge. That is why it's great to do that. Like it literally opens the space for you to receive something that you cannot come up with yourself, since you get caught up in your labyrinth here. I'll read the first paragraph one more time. This idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates. You see no neutral things because you have no neutral thoughts. It is always the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe that it's really the other way around. This is not the way the world thinks, but this is the way that you have to start thinking. If it were not so, perception would have no cause and would itself be the cause of reality. In view of its highly variable nature, this is hardly likely. Okay, so the second paragraph then is this. In applying today's idea, say to yourself with eyes open, I see no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts. Then look about you, resting your glance on each thing that catches your eye long enough to say, I do not see a neutral camera because my thoughts about cameras are not real. Or I do not see a neutral lamp because my thoughts about lamps are not neutral. And you fill in the blank. For example, here it says, I do not see a neutral wall because my thoughts about walls are not neutral. And so on. As usual, it is essential to make no distinctions between what you believe to be animate or inanimate, pleasant or unpleasant. Regardless of what you may believe, you do not see anything which is really alive and really joyous. That is because you are unaware yet of any thoughts which are really true and therefore really happy. And you say like, well, is that so? Yes, that is so. That is so. It is so, not because I say so, but because it is. So there's another opportunity given here. So 3 to 4 specific practice periods are recommended for today. No less than 3 are required for maximum benefit, even if you experience resistance. However, if you do, the length of the practice period may be reduced to less than a minute or so, which is otherwise recommended. So it's like there's no pressure here. So you can do this exercise like, okay, I'm seeing no neutral things. How did it go exactly? I do not see a neutral this and that because my thoughts about this and that are not neutral. And so you practice this for just a minute or two. And if you feel that the resistance to doing that becomes too big, you shorten it up. No pressure. It's like better do it 10 seconds well than trying to wrestle yourself through 2 minutes of it. So this is really great. I see no neutral things because your thoughts about it are not neutral. You give value in a very specific way to the objects around you. They have a special place in your idea about yourself. So it's definitely not neutral. And if you don't trust that idea, just clean up your room. Say, throw stuff out, no matter what it is, throw it out. Put it in boxes for a moment, like this. And then you see like, yeah, that is what I want back here. No, that I cannot throw that out. No, I need that. Or, all this kind of consideration. So it's like whatever occurs in your perception, whatever seems to happen in your life, in your day, it starts with your idea of what you want and not anything else. So this is already like a great experiment you can do or realize during the day too. It's like, I can't believe it, but there's nothing outside of me that determines anything for me. I'm literally placing myself in this because I wanted it, apparently. Even though the reasons why might not be clear. It can be completely unaware. So the undoing of that is, then it doesn't really matter anymore because it is, you hand it over, and that gives you the opportunity to allow a change to occur. But don't try to change it yourself. There are no neutral thoughts. So there's a question, what is a neutral thought? Well, your thoughts are not neutral. There's no such thing as a neutral thought. So all thoughts have effects, whether they are illusory or whether they are real. Like the illusory thoughts lead to fear, lead to a dream. And the real thoughts are recognizing, like that is what gives you the recognition of your connectedness. So there's no neutral thought. There's no such thing as a neutral thought. You cannot think neutral thoughts. But your thoughts can be undone. So, and it can change. Like it's, okay, you give it value, but now it can be changed by allowing that change to occur, not by doing that yourself. You hand it over to Spirit, and it's going to be used, say, to a constructive idea, to a constructive thing. And constructive in the sense of it is beneficial for everyone involved. That is the difference. So you would not be able to think that. Lesson 313. Now let a new perception come to me. Father, there is a vision which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear has gone. And where it was is love invited in. And love will come wherever it is asked. This vision is your gift. The eyes of Christ look on a world forgiven. In his sight are all its sins forgiven, for he sees no sin in anything he looks upon. Now let his true perception come to me, that I may waken from the dream of guilt and look within upon my sinlessness, which you have kept completely undefiled upon the altar, to your Holy Son, the self with which I would identify. Let us today behold each other in the sight of Christ. How beautiful we are, how holy and how loving. Brother, come and join with me today. We save the world when we are joined, for in our vision it becomes as holy as the light in us. All right, this is really lovely. So thank you so much for for being in this class, in this miracle moment, where we discover something new, like a new vision is being offered. You don't have to keep doing what you're doing. Like if you're suffering, you don't have to keep on suffering. Like there's help continuously standing ready. There's, in fact, only your own ideas and thoughts, concerns are in the way of experiencing, say, constancy in the happiness and joy that you are. And that is no longer necessary. You did your job. Yeah, it's done. So in our training and in our coming together, this is something that we want to be in our awareness, that there's another option, that we can literally like be freed of all our limitations and feel and experience and open ourselves up for the light and love that we are. So thank you so much for joining in that, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.